Let's speak to Mark Regev about this, a senior advisor to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Mr. Regev, thank you very much for speaking to us. First of all, just plainly,
good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Your plain reaction to what the ICJ had to say today.
Well, the most important thing is the number one item on South Africa's action item list was that there'd be some sort of ruling to prevent Israel from continuing our fight against Hamas, and that was rejected. That was rejected by the court, and rightly so. Every country has the right to self-defense, and to single out Israel and deny us that right, that would be holding the Jewish state to a standard that no one else is held to.
These 6 provisional orders, you can call them, they have to, the South Africans say, have to be undertaken under the canopy of a ceasefire. So what they're claiming is they've got a de facto ceasefire because you need to do these things.
No. I mean, they can claim what they want, but that isn't true. Israel will continue to pursue Hamas, will continue to destroy its military machine, will continue to do everything we can to bring our hostages home. As you know, over 130 are still being held in Gaza. But in the framework of that operation, we will abide stringently by international law, the rules of armed conflict, international humanitarian law, as we have been doing. We will continue to do so. We have the right to self-defense. The court was told by South Africa, you have to deny Israel that right, and the court rejected the South African approach. And here the South Africans have been, their behavior is atrocious. They have become the lawyers of Hamas. They are clearly, pushing for a ceasefire that would allow Hamas to stay in power.
Okay.
And as you know, other countries, Western countries have come down on Israel's side on this. They're saying the South African demand was meritless, I think the American Secretary of State said.
Well, yes. I mean, in the last few minutes, US has said they've called the allegations of Israel's genocide unfounded. I wonder, though, I mean, you say it's sort of 2 different things that you're saying. You're saying that Israel is going to continue to abide by international law, but these 6 provisional measures suggest that the ICJ wants you to do more. Are you going to?
We will do more in our fight against Hamas, and at the same time, we will do what we can to provide humanitarian aid to facilitate the arrival of that, to continue to distinguish between combatants and non-combatants as we are according to our own laws of war. We take this very seriously. But the case that was brought by South Africa really was, I think, in many ways, a travesty. I mean, South Africa accused Israel of genocide while they are actually harboring and supporting, giving, the legal team, so to speak, of a genocidal terrorist organization. We saw what Hamas is capable of when they attacked Israel on October 7th. We saw the massacres of the innocent. They are in Gaza. We have to deal with this threat on our people. And South Africa is saying, no, Israel has no right to self-defense. And clearly the court rejected that claim.
Okay, well, let me put this to you. I mean, the overwhelming majority of the court decided that you needed to do more. They've brought up these 6 provisional measures, which they have said you must abide by. You have America, Great Britain and Germany backing you. But are you feeling more and more isolated as the rest of the world voices that it does not?
Well, I would say the following. From Israel's perspective, the number one item on our agenda is to free us from this threat from our southern frontier. And we will have to continue with our aims, which is to destroy Hamas's war machine, to free our hostages, and to create a new political reality in Gaza where Hamas no longer controls the Gaza Strip. It's clear we can no longer live in a situation where you have a terrorist enclave on our southern border where Israelis have to fear that every night Hamas terrorists will cross the border and butcher our people. It's just not sustainable.
Okay, well, where are you with hostage talks?
Well, they are ongoing. We hope it's possible to reach another understanding like we did in November, but the jury is still out. If there is a serious opportunity to bring our people home, we will, of course, embrace that.
And just very briefly, the United Nations Palestinian Agency, UNRWA, has said it is opening a probe into the alleged involvement of several of its employees in the October the 7th attacks. by Hamas. This is after Israel provided it with some information. What do you make of that decision, and also their statement that they have severed ties while they investigate because they want to protect the agency's ability to deliver humanitarian assistance?
I think it's important to understand that this is not an aberration. I mean, the involvement of UNRWA, UN workers in the attack on Israel, in the atrocities of October 7th, that's just the tip of the iceberg. There was a report of UNRWA teachers celebrating the October 7th massacre. That has been documented. One of the hostages who was returned in November, one of the female hostages, reported that she was held in the house of an UNRWA employee. We know that the UNRWA Workers Union is controlled and dominated by Hamas, which affects the whole organization. Ultimately, there are foreigners who come in and out in senior positions in UNRWA, but the workers who stay there, they're permanent staff. It's clear that Hamas can dominate them. And I think there's a whole series of questions that had to be asked. And every time you have an UNRWA spokesman come on and he almost echoes, or she, the Hamas line, one has to understand why that is. It's always, if you speak to UNRWA people, it's always Israel's fault.
Okay.
And people haven't questioned why is that. It's because they have a relationship with Hamas that is far more than incidental.
Okay. I should say UNRWA reiterates this is a statement from them, reiterates its condemnation in the strongest possible terms of the abhorrent attacks on the 7th of October and calls for the immediate and unconditional release of all Israeli hostages and their safe return to their families. Mark Regev, thank you very much.